Across a galaxy where color had been outlawed and imagination was treated as a crime, a single human brushstroke would soon ignite the brightest rebellion the stars had ever seen. The Galactic Dominion had many laws, some cruel, some strange, some forgotten, but none were as absolute as Edict Zero, the decree that banned all forms of art, music, paintings, sculpture, poetry. Anything that stirred emotion or inspired free thought was forbidden. The Dominion claimed it was to preserve order. Most citizens knew the real reason: art made people impossible to control. For 2 centuries, worlds across the Dominion adapted to the grayness. Murals were scrubbed from city walls. Instruments were melted down into ammunition. Words deemed too poetic were sanitized from plea books. Generations grew up never knowing the electric sensation of wonder or the aching sweetness of beauty. Creativity lived only in secret, whispering through cracks like a ghost that refused to die. But on the outer rim, far from the Dominion's core, lived a 27-year-old human named Elio, quiet cargo technician who believed himself to be painfully ordinary. He spent his nights alone in the hull of the freighter Vantage, tracing invisible patterns in the air with his fingers, shapes he'd never seen but somehow remembered. He didn't know it yet, but he carried something the Dominion had spent centuries trying to extinguish, a mind that dreamed in color. One evening, while unloading crates on the barren mining moon of Rex 9, Elio followed a faint glimmer beneath a cracked service hatch. Inside, he discovered a dust-covered metal case sealed with a forgotten lock. The tag read, "Property of the old Terran Culture Archive, do not open." Curiosity outran fear. The case hissed open. Inside was an object he had never seen but immediately understood: a set of ancient Terran oil paints. Still intact, their hues shimmering like forbidden jewels. Crimson, emerald, sapphire, gold, and a brush with bristles that seemed to hum when he touched them. That night, hidden in the ship's maintenance bay, Elio dipped the brush into a streak of cobalt blue. The color shone like a living thing. His heartbeat thundered. He pressed the brush to a scrap of metal. What emerged wasn't a simple stroke, it was motion, energy, a whirl of blues twisting into a young star, bright and trembling, blooming across the surface like it was fighting to be real. Then the impossible happened. The painting moved. The star pulsed, and then slowly, defiantly, it began to burn, casting light into the dark bay. Elio stumbled backward, breath ripped from his lungs. The metal sheet should have melted, but instead it glowed as though the star existed somewhere halfway between paint and reality. He whispered, trembling, "What are you?" The star flickered in response like a creature waking for the first time. Far outside the ship, sensors began to scream. The Dominion's surveillance network detected an impossible energy spike. Art had been reborn, and the Dominion would kill to erase it. The star on the scrap of metal did not fade overnight. If anything, it grew brighter. Soft blue light pulsed through the maintenance bay, flickering across pipes and fuel lines, breathing like a sleeping creature. Elio barely slept at all. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw that moment again: the impossible flare of color, the warmth against his skin, the feeling that something ancient and sacred had stirred awake inside him. But wonder soon twisted into fear. At 0400 hours, the ship, AI Mello, spoke in a tone Elio had never heard before, sharp and clipped. "Unauthorized energy anomaly detected. Source located in Maintenance Bay 3. His blood froze. The Dominion's surveillance protocols were woven into every registered vessel. An energy reading like this, it wouldn't simply be logged, it would be reported. He wrapped the glowing metal sheet in cloth and shoved it into his pack. Just as the bay doors hissed opened and Captain Ariane Holt stepped inside, her boots clicked against the metal floor, and her eyes, usually warm, were icy with suspicion. "Elio," she said, "explain this radiation spike." Now he swallowed. Lying had never been his strength. I was repairing a power conduit. Must have overloaded something." Ariane scanned the room. The light from his makeshift painting, thankfully covered, was faint enough not to give him away. But her gaze lingered on him a little too long. "Elio, if something's happening on my ship, I need to know." His chest tightened. Ariane wasn't just his captain, she was a former Dominion officer. Someone who followed rules. Someone who believed in order. Someone who, if she found out he'd created art, would be legally obligated to turn him in. He forced a nod. "I'll run diagnostics." Could be nothing. But as she turned to leave, a soft pulse of blue escaped the edge of his pack. Ariane froze. "Elio, what was that?" Before he could answer, the bay lights dimmed on. Mello's voice thundered through the ship's speakers. "Incoming transmission from Dominion Enforcement Authority. Priority 1. Elio's heart plummeted. They had been detected. Ariane tapped her gums, jaw clenched. "Patch it through." A hologram flickered to life. a towering figure clad in obsidian armor, the emblem of the Order of Purity burning across his chest. Commander Valor, feared across dozens of systems, leaned forward, eyes like shards of black ice. This is a system-wide alert. We have identified an illegal phenomenon consistent with artistic creation. He spoke the words like they were venom. The source originated within proximity of your vessel. All crew must submit to immediate inspection. Ariane stiffened. Commander, with respect, my ship has been in dry dock. No such activity, Captain Vela snapped. Art is corruption. It warps minds. It destabilizes civilizations. You will comply. The hologram vanished. Ariane turned toward Elio. There was fear in her eyes, now real fear. Elio, what have you done? He opened his mouth, but a muffled hum came from inside his pack, and a thin line of blue light spilled onto the floor. Ariane stared, not at him, at the glow. Elio, show me. Now his secret was no longer a secret, and the Dominion's hunters were closing in. Elio slowly unwrapped the cloth. The moment the fabric slipped away, the tiny star fled to life, bright, defiant, and pulsing like a heartbeat. Its glow spilled across the maintenance bay, painting the gray walls with shimmering blue light. Ariane staggered back, shock flooding her face. What, in the void, is that? Elio held the metal sheet like it might burn him. I think it's alive. Ariane's eyes widened. Elio, that's not just art. That's a class of reality anomaly. The Dominion will execute you for this. They'll execute anyone who even saw it. The star pulsed sharply, as if responding to her fear. Elio lowered his voice. I wasn't trying to break any laws. I just painted. I didn't know it would do this. Ariane paced, running a trembling hand through her hair. Listen to me. Dominion enforcement is already en route. They'll board in minutes. If they find you, we're finished. Elio hugged the glowing metal sheet to his chest. Then we hide it. No, Ariane's voice cracked like a whip. We destroy it. The star flickered violently, its glow sharpening like a sudden breath of anger. Elio stepped back. No, you can't. Elio, this isn't about morality, it's about survival. The Dominion doesn't tolerate beauty. You've made something impossible, something they've spent centuries erasing. If they think this thing can spread, it should spread, Elio whispered. Maybe that's the point. Ariane froze. The star's glow softened, drifting in slow pulses, almost soothing, as if it sensed Elio's hope. Elio, Ariane said quietly, I need you to hear me. The Order of Purity doesn't interrogate. They purge. They won't see this as creation. They will see it as an infection. And they will burn this ship to ash if it means containing it. He could hear the engines of an approaching cruiser rumbling outside the hull, now deep, thunderous, growing louder. Time was running out. The star's blue light flickered, casting shadows that danced across Ariane's face. For a moment Elio saw her expression falter, fear warring with something else. Wonder, awe, the same emotions she had been trained her whole life to suppress. Elio, she said softly, give it to me. He held it tighter. You're going to turn me in. No, she said. I'm going to hide it, but I need your trust. A beat, and you need mine. The ship shook, docking clamps locking onto the hull. Boom. The blast doors began to cycle open. Ariane grabbed Elio by the wrist, yanking him toward a service hatch. Go. Enforcement is boarding. If they scan you holding that thing, you're dead. As they sprinted into the narrow crawl space, the star's glow spilled across the pipes like a comet's tail. Behind them, armored boots thundered onto the ship. Order of Purity soldiers, hunters. Elio crawled faster, heart thundering. The star beat against his palm like a living pulse. Then, without warning, the little star let out a sound. A soft, trembling note. Not mechanical, not alien, but something like a song. Ariane froze. What was that? Elio stared at the glowing metal. It's learning. And deep within the Dominion cruiser, Commander Vela felt the disturbance and smiled. Elio and Ariane crawled deeper into the ship's maintenance ducts as the tiny star continued to hum a soft, trembling melody that seemed to vibrate through the metal walls. It wasn't loud, but it was unmistakable, and impossibly beautiful. Ariane halted, breath-catching. Elio, make it stop. If they hear that, I'm not making it do anything, he whispered. It's acting on its own. The star's song wavered, as if unsure whether to quiet or swell. Its blue light rippled gently across the metal panel, like waves brushing ashore. Elio, Ariane hissed. Its sound is art. If the Order detects this frequency, they'll know exactly where we are. He clutched the metal sheet close. I don't think it's trying to expose us. Then what is it doing? The hum deepened, soft, warm, resonant. For a heartbeat, Ariane stopped breathing. Emotion rippled across her features, subtle but real, a flicker of wonder shining through decades of discipline. No, she whispered. This shouldn't be possible. Elio looked at her. What? That sound, she said, barely audible. I remember it. Her voice trembled. When I was a child, before the purity regime, before the edict, my father, he used to play something like this on an old Terran instrument. She blinked rapidly, as if forcing the memory away. I haven't heard anything like it in 20 years. The star pulsed gently, almost comfortingly. Ariane shook her head violently. This is why they banned art. It makes you feel things you shouldn't feel. That's why it matters, Elio said quietly. Before Ariane could respond, a metal panel beside them boomed inward. Dust exploded into the duct. A Dominion soldier's helmet visor stared directly at them through the gap. Contact. The soldier roared. Ariane swore. Go. They scrambled down the narrow shaft as armored boots hammered above them. The star brightened, as if reacting to danger, its hum shifting from soft melody to sharp, urgent vibration. Elio, Ariane panted as they crawled. There's a maintenance drop point ahead. If we climb down, we can reach the escape pod corridor. Another metallic crash echoed behind them. Not much time. They reached the vertical shaft. Ariane kicked open the grate and dropped down first. Elio followed, but halfway down, the ship lights flickered. A deep, resonant voice filled the ventilation system. Elio Moran. It was Commander Vela. You hold a corruption that predates this empire. A weapon disguised as beauty. Art is not creation, it is chaos. Surrender it now, and I may spare your captain. Ariane stiffened. Don't listen, she hissed. Elio gritted his teeth. If you want it, come take it. Vela's voice boomed with cold amusement. I intend to. Elio and Ariane leaped from the shaft into the escape pod corridor, but the doors slammed shut on both ends, sealed by an override. Ariane grabbed Elio's arm, eyes wide. He's locking us in. Before Elio could answer, the star in his hand surged with light, brilliant, fierce, its hum rising into a pure, ringing note that shook the corridor. Then the impossible happened. Every sealed door in the hallway suddenly unlocked. Ariane stared at the glowing star, stunned. It's helping us. Elio swallowed hard. No, he whispered. It's protecting us. The corridor doors clicked open one by one, metal locks releasing like a chain reaction. Blue light from the star rippled across their surfaces as if flowing through the ship's circuits, rewriting the rules of the metal around them. Ariane stared at Elio, stunned. It can interface with the ship. That shouldn't be possible. Art isn't technology. Elio shook his head. We don't know what it is. Maybe art was never just art. The star pulsed warmly in his arms, as if confirming his words. Behind them, the thunder of armored boots shook the corridor. Move, Ariane shouted. They sprinted toward the escape pod bay, the star's glow lighting their path. Pipes and panels flickered with blue energy as they passed us, though the tiny star was extending its awareness through the ship. A warning alarm blared overhead. Manual override engaged. Security lockdown disabled. Ariane laughed breathlessly. It's overriding Dominion protocols. Elio, your little star is rewriting a military-grade system. I didn't do this. That's what scares me. They turned a corner and froze. Commander Vela stood at the end of the hall. Alone. Unarmed, but radiating a menace that made the air feel colder. His obsidian armor shimmered under the blue glow. His glare locked onto Elio, then drifted to the star in his hands. There it is, Vela murmured. The last remnant of the old chaos. Ariane drew her blaster. Step back. Vela didn't even glance at her. Captain Holt, stand aside. You know the law. Art spreads like infection. If you are touched by it, you become unstable, irrational, unsafe. Ariane steadied her aim. Funny, I feel more clarity now than I ever did under your banners. That is corruption speaking, Vela replied. The seed of rebellion they once called inspiration. His eyes sharpened. That star must be eliminated. The star quivered, almost like a frightened creature. Elio held it protectively. It's alive. It is dangerous, Vela hissed. Did you think the edict was created out of fear? No, out of necessity. Your species once created art that reshaped physical laws. Sculptures that bent gravity, paintings that opened rifts, music that drove entire worlds insane with emotion, strong enough to kill. Elio blinked. That's impossible. Ariane swallowed as Vela stepped forward, boots echoing. You don't understand what you created with that brush. Terrans lost the ability centuries ago. We believed the gift or curse had died with your ancestors. Yet here you stand, proving us wrong. He lifted a gauntlet hand and pressed a control on his wrist. A shimmering barrier field activated, sealing the corridor behind him. You cannot run, he said simply. Elio's grip tightened around the glowing metal sheet. The star's light flared wild, panicked. Vela extended one hand. Elio Moran, give it to me. The star reacted before Elio could speak. It unleashed a burst of light, blinding, explosive, soundless. The shockwave knocked Elio and Arian to the floor. When Elio opened his eyes, Vela was staggering, armor cracked, visor flickering with static, and the star was no longer in Elio's hands. It was floating, suspended in midair, burning brighter than ever before, like a newborn sun choosing its first enemy. The star hovered, suspended in midair, its light spilling across the corridor like liquid sapphire. Elio and Arian scrambled to their feet, shielding their eyes, hearts pounding. Commander Vela, battered but unbowed, struggled to maintain his footing against the searing glow. The star's pulse was rhythmic now, almost sentient. Its hum filled the corridor with a resonance that vibrated through metal and bone alike. The Dominion's systems, once cold and rigid, began to flicker lights doors, even the sensors responding to something no one alive had commanded. Vela roared, "It cannot exist. I will." A pulse of blue light cut through his words. The star's energy slammed into him, lifting him off his feet. For the first time, Commander Vela looked human, terrified, vulnerable. Elio's voice trembled. "It's protecting us, not attacking. Protecting." Arian's eyes widened. "It's choosing a side." The star drifted closer to Elio, its glow softening, its hum like a lullaby and a battle cry at once. He realized then that the star wasn't just alive, it was aware, and it had chosen him, chosen them, to carry the spark of rebellion that the Dominion had tried to snuff out for centuries. Vela scrambled backward, slamming against the wall. "No, this isn't possible," he screamed. "Art cannot fight back. Art cannot think." The star pulsed again, brighter than ever, and with a sound that seemed to pierce the very soul of the Dominion cruiser, the entire corridor shimmered and then shattered. The ship's rigid metal hulls twisted like liquid, panels bending, locks breaking, and alarms silenced. Every soldier present, including Vela, was knocked back by the sheer force of the star's energy. The once feared Order of Purity found themselves powerless against the creation they had spent centuries eradicating. Elio stepped forward, heart pounding, holding out his hands. You can't destroy us, and we can't destroy you, but together we can survive." The star hovered, then slowly descended, embedding itself into the metal sheet once more, glowing softly like a heartbeat. Its light washed over Elio and Arian, and for the first time in centuries, they felt freedom, real freedom, beauty, hope, and courage wrapped around them like a cloak. Vela, battered and defeated, rose weakly. His armor flickered and broke, revealing the man beneath, fearful, shocked, and strangely awed. He staggered toward the exit, mumbling about containment protocols and reporting failures. But deep down, he knew something had changed. Something irreparable. The Dominion could never completely erase art again, not if it could fight for itself. Arian grabbed Elio's arm, eyes shining with a mix of disbelief and exhilaration. You did it. You brought it back." Elio shook his head, staring at the glowing star. "We didn't just bring it back. It was never gone. It was waiting for someone brave enough to let it live." The star pulsed one final time, brighter than the sun streaming through a window on Terran soil. Then it flickered, settled, and glowed steadily, a tiny, indestructible star, a promise. Across the galaxy, something shifted. Citizens hiding secret paintings and instruments felt a stirring of hope. Rebellions began to ignite in whispers. Words of forbidden poetry began circulating. Somewhere far away, a child smiled at a stolen melody, and the Dominion, despite its power, could not stop it. They had tried to erase creation, but creation was eternal. Elio tucked the metal sheet under his arm. "We have work to do," Arian smiled. "And now, we know how to fight." Above them, in the heart of a gray, oppressive galaxy, a single star refused to die. And with it, the light of imagination had returned, blazing, unstoppable, eternal.